Hi everybody, welcome to today's Ocean Wonders video, where we're going to find out more about sharks. So what is a shark? Well, sharks and their close relatives, rays, like stingrays, belong to a special group called elasmobranchs. Although they look like fish, they're actually not closely related to them at all. So when you think of a fish, you probably just think of anything that looks vaguely this shape. But there are actually two very distinct groups of fish. There are bony fish, which are the majority of fish, things like salmon, trout, tuna, any kind of fish that you can usually think of. And they're called bony fish because their skeletons are made of lots of little bones. And then there are the elasmobranchs, and that's sharks, skates, and rays. And these evolved completely separately from bony fish, and they just look the same because they evolved to live in an ocean environment. And unlike bony fish, sharks have a skeleton that's made of cartilage. So that's the same material as is found in your nose or your ears. So now you know that they're actually quite different altogether. There are more than 1,000 different types of sharks and rays in our oceans, and they're really ancient, fascinating animals. Let's find out a bit more about what makes sharks so special. First off, an amazing thing about sharks is that their skin is made of thousands of tiny little teeth called dermal denticles. This is a really close-up photo which shows the skin of a shark, and you can see that these are all tiny little teeth. So if you've ever touched a shark, if you've ever rubbed your finger against the skin of a shark, it feels very much like sandpaper. It's very rough because of all these tiny dermal denticles. Pretty cool. So sharks have a skeleton, but it's not made out of bones like your skeleton or my skeleton. It's made out of cartilage, the same material that gives shape to our nose and our ears. Cartilage is a very flexible material, and it's quite light, so it makes sharks very fast and agile swimmers. This picture shows cartilage from a basking shark. So we humans have 5 senses, but sharks actually have 7 super senses. Let's have a little look at them. First off, their sense of smell. 2/3 of a shark's brain weight goes into its sense of smell. It's really excellent. Their eyes are adapted to be able to see in the dark conditions underwater, and they can hear over long distances because sound travels particularly well through water. If they want to know what something feels like, they have to take a bite out of it, but they don't have a very good sense of taste, even though they have taste buds all over their mouth and down their throat. But on top of these, sharks have 2 extra senses. They're able to feel changes in pressure in the water, and they have a sense called electroreception, which allows them to sense electricity nearby. Let's find out more about these on the next slide. An amazing ability that sharks have is that they're able to feel electricity. So all animals give off a very small electrical current because of their heartbeat. Sharks are able to sense these electrical currents through special cells in their snout called ampullae of Lorenzini. This allows sharks to detect prey even if they're hidden under sand, for example. It's really amazing. As well as sensing electricity, sharks can also sense changes in the vibrations of the water around them, or changes in water pressure. They have a special line of pores going down their back called the lateral line. And this lateral line is able to sense these very tiny changes. For example, if a shoal of fish is swimming nearby. This is another sense that makes a shark a very efficient predator. When sharks are born, they have to be ready to defend themselves, so they're born equipped with a full set of teeth. In fact, they have several sets of teeth, and whenever they fall out, their teeth are constantly being replaced. Some sharks can even lose up to 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. What do you think of that? Sharks have been around for such a long time, since the same time as the dinosaurs. They're about 450 million years old. That's a long time to get really well adapted to their lifestyle. So let's find out about some shark species. This shark is called a whale shark, and it's the largest shark in the world. It can be up to 12 meters long, possibly even longer. It's a filter feeder. It only feeds on tiny little plankton despite its massive size, and it's thought that they can live to be up to 100 years old. Pretty cool. This unusual guy is called a sawfish, and it's actually a type of ray. You can see its really long pointed nose. This is its saw, also called a rostrum, and it's full of these tiny little electroreceptors that we mentioned before. It uses these electroreceptors to be able to detect its prey. This cool shark is called a thresher shark. You can see that it has a really long tail, and it's thought that it uses this to stun its prey or to herd fish together when it's hunting. It has really big eyes and a really sleek body shape, and this is to help it to be a very, very fast swimmer. This shark is called a swell shark. It's nocturnal, which means it only comes out at night, and you can see it has a really cool superpower. It glows in the dark. This is called bioluminescence. It's thought that the shark uses this to communicate, or maybe to camouflage itself so it doesn't get eaten by any bigger sharks. You might be familiar with this lovely face. This is a basking shark, and we get loads of basking sharks around our coasts, particularly in the summertime. Like the whale shark, it's a filter feeder and only feeds on tiny plankton. It's a gentle giant. Whale sharks can sometimes be found in schools of up to 100 individuals. Traditionally, they used to be caught for their liver oil, which was used in street lights back in the 1800s. So sharks are extremely important animals. They're at the very top of the food chain, so they have a very important role in ocean ecosystems, making sure that there isn't too many fish in the sea or in any one particular area. That might sound like a strange thing, but nature's balance is very delicate. So if you take out one particular type of animal, it has a big knock-on effect on the rest of the ecosystem. Sharks have evolved over millions of years to fill their particular role or niche in the ocean ecosystem. They're also very important for cultures around the world. They bring tourism as well to certain places around the world, and they're also just important because they're living things that exist and they have as much right to be here as we do. So this is an example of a food chain. A food chain shows who eats who in nature and how energy goes from one plant or animal up and down the food chain. Sharks, like humans, are at the top of the food chain. There's not that many of them because they're at the very top and they need a lot of energy to survive. Sharks eat things like big fish, turtles, stingrays, and seals. These animals then eat smaller fish and shellfish graze on seagrass, seaweeds, and plankton. Each animal and plant has its own special place in the food chain, so it's very important that they're all in place to keep the balance. So if everything has its special place in the food chain, what happens when you take something out? Well, if there aren't enough sharks, the big fish start to multiply very fast. We get lots of big fish, and then they start to eat all of the small fish until there aren't enough small fish left. But the small fish have a very important role grazing on seagrasses, for example. And when they aren't there anymore, things like seagrasses and seaweeds start to get out of control. Basically, the whole balance of the food chain is lost. So it's really important that each particular animal and plant is able to survive to keep nature's balance. So, aren't sharks really dangerous? Well, it's true that sharks are very powerful predators. They've evolved over millions of years to become very efficient at what they do, catching prey for their own survival. However, who's the biggest threat? It's actually us. We are a much bigger threat to sharks than sharks are to us. About 10 people die every year because of shark attacks. This is very sad, but there are over 7 billion people on the planet. So really that number is a very, very small amount when you look at it from that perspective. People that get attacked by sharks are going into a shark's territory, much in the same way that if you went walking through the African savannah, you might get attacked by a lion. In fact, you're far more likely to get struck by lightning or eaten by a bear than you are to be attacked by a shark. Despite all of their amazing superpowers, sharks are actually in big trouble. 11,000 sharks are killed every single hour by humans. That's 100 million sharks a year. So why are they being killed, you wonder? Well, their fins are used in an Asian delicacy called shark fin soup. You can see all the fins lined up in the photograph in the background. More sharks are killed accidentally as bycatch. This is when they're caught in a fishing net, even though the fishing net wasn't targeting them. Sharks also suffer due to habitat loss and marine pollution, the same way that other marine animals do. And despite being such powerful top predators, sharks reach maturity very slowly. That means it takes them a long time to grow up and to have baby sharks of their own. This means it takes a long time for a shark population to get back to its normal level if some sharks are killed off. So sharks are really in trouble and we need to do our best to try and protect them. So sharks are in trouble, but lots of great work is going on around the world to help them. Scientists are getting more information about their lives so that we can help protect them, and education and conservation programs are allowing fishermen to change jobs to become marine park rangers and protect sharks instead of hunting them. You can help sharks by only eating sustainably caught fish, and of course by not littering and doing your best to help the marine environment, and also by learning more about them and telling your friends and family about sharks as well. I hope you've enjoyed this video. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed learning about sharks. Thanks for taking part.